like when I got there Friday, like I said, here I am with a mask with albuterol coming to my lungs, and I couldn't breathe. And I think they also measure your blood oxygen level. That little pulse ox thing that you can buy, that is gold if you can get one, if you can find one of those things. But it started showing, my blood oxygen levels dropping still.
Wow.
And I know that at one point I dropped to where like it looked like you have like liver failure. That's what my discharge paperwork had shown. So at that point, I was in acute respiratory failure, and they had me, and I was in their hands at that point.
So you don't even remember that?
I don't even remember. I remember in the gurney being taken around, and I remember a guy in a red shirt walking us through the ER and walking us to a spot, and I remember nothing beyond that.
Well, Chris, it's great to see you, and I'm so glad you're back home with your family.
Thank you very much. It's good to be seen, and it's definitely good to be home. That's for sure.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling much better. It's a progression that happens day by day, and every day I feel stronger. I feel better, and I had certain goals set for every day for what I wanted to accomplish, and I'm knocking those things out every day. You know what? It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't go back and, oh, if only this, if only that. I think we're in society today, we're too much of a shoulda, woulda, coulda. Here's where we are now. So now we have to treat it. And so I just kind of was like, all right, what do we do next? And then after that, I was knocked out for 10 days. So
the doctor came in. He said, hey, I've got some bad news. You've tested positive for COVID-19. And it was actually very shortly after that I started to lose lung function, and they intubated me.
Life was about to get even worse for the 38-year-old dad.
I was actually in a medically induced coma for 3 days. And then during that process, they put me on a ventilator where I spent 7 additional days.
Brown was fighting for his life. And like many patients stricken with COVID-19, he was being kept alive with a ventilator.
My next guest contracted the virus while working on the front lines as a nurse, trying to fight it. He spent 11 days in the hospital, 7 of them on a ventilator. Out front now, Jesse Vanderhoof and his wife, Emily. And I thank both of you so much for talking. And look, I'm so glad that you're together. I know that every moment of every day, you must be grateful for that. I mean, Jesse, you have been out of the hospital now for about 10 days, but I know that there have been a lot of hard moments. It's going to be a slow recovery for you. How are you feeling so far?
Well, I don't totally feel like I got ran over by a Mack truck anymore, but I still feel the effects of COVID.
Like, he doesn't remember going to the emergency room that morning when I dropped him off at 5. I don't think he knew.
I don't remember the swab, swab tent at all, really.
Yeah, it's.
And Emily, it happened really fast, right? I mean, when you sent him, it was an incredibly quick deterioration. Am I right?
Yeah, he was sick over the weekend, and Monday he was definitely sick. But, it wasn't the symptoms of respiratory. It wasn't shortness of breath. Like, he was able to breathe, and he was taking his vitals all throughout the day, kind of knew what to watch for. And by that morning, he just said, I can't take this anymore. And he doesn't remember that. Like, he doesn't remember the drive to the hospital, or, I watched him walk into the entrance of the hospital, and I said, just call me in a few hours. I'll come get you and update me. And the next thing I know is maybe 8:30 or 9 a.m. and the nurse called, who we know, and she said, he's been intubated and we're going to life flight. He had a seizure. And I was like, what? He was going to come home, It happened so fast.
My heart stopped twice, my kidneys failed, my lungs weren't working. So you could say I've died twice, and I've come back round, and I'm just so grateful because there are many others that don't have that luck. But I'm here, I'm alive.
Alive, 3.5 stone lighter than before his double cardiac arrest and induced coma. Scott, who's 48, was one of those he was referring to.
He was desperately unwell. He was requiring every bit of equipment that we had to keep him going. He became very close to dying. It's wonderful to see him looking so much better now. He's done brilliantly, and it's a huge
such a lift to the team to see him going home to his family.
He only returned home 5 days ago. Helen, what was it like for you?
Absolutely horrendous. It's the only way I can describe it. There were days that I thought, he's not going to pull through. I don't know what I'm going to do without him. It was heartbreaking. Really, really difficult. Really difficult.
Seeing him back here, what's it like?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. To see him walk out was absolutely fantastic.
There have been many stories of survival against the odds during this pandemic, but few which span a stint in intensive care lasting 96 days. Lung damage, kidney failure, blood clots. The impact so severe he needed ventilation for 83 days. Now sharing with him this glimpse into the progress he's made.
Where was my brain when all this was going on? Must have been somewhere else because I can't remember any of that.
How long have you been in there?
In here?
Yeah.
97 days.
Oh, wow.
97 days since this 59-year-old window fitter from Barry arrived in hospital with COVID. Memories of that moment which he filmed and much thereafter now lost. A pandemic which leaves a previously fit and active Steve Jones, now 4-stone lighter, barely able to walk.
Okay, you can.
All of that.
And along with many of the more than 200 COVID patients in Wales who've left intensive care alive, needing extensive rehabilitation.
What was your biggest fear during all of this?
I wouldn't see my boys again. My boys would grow up without a father. I think for the first time in my adult life, I was truly scared. And it's because of all the unknowns. You know, there was no protocol for it. All I had read, of course, was bad news about it. And all you see was bad news about it. So, you know, you don't hear of people like me who got out, and the other hundreds, by the way, that day by day come out. You know, all you thought was it was a death sentence. And I'm living proof it's not.
Yeah. I think that's an important message for people to hear right now.
Yeah, it is. And you know, if your family member has it, it is scary. And if you're somebody who has it and you're sitting there in the hospital watching this interview, you know, it's not a death sentence. You can get through it. Be patient with your nurses and doctors because they're trying to limit their exposure to you as well. And try to make your interactions with them as human as possible.
As I said to the consultant when I left, I thanked him for saving my life. And I said, I won't just be clapping on Thursday for you, I'll clap every day of my life for you, because I'm so lucky that I met those ICU staff and that they saved my life.